was ready to make some IFBB pros mad, some coaches mad, personal trainers, bodybuilders, a whole bunch of people mad. Mind you, I'm a competitor. I'm a bodybuilder. I'm going to compete in a few months. If this goes viral and I make some people angry, I'm sorry. We are ranking 6 different styles of bodybuilding prep. I'm personally ranking them hear me out. I'm not ranking them on whether or not they can get you to stage. Technically, every single one of these can get you to stage. People have competed with every single one of these. There are pros with every single one of these. For your body type, this might be the only way you could make it pro with one that I rank low. Just because I rank it low, in my personal opinion, doesn't mean you can't use it to get to stage. There can be a variety of reasons that I rank it either low or high. I'm going to rank it. I know everyone does like the S tier, all of that. I like skills out of 10. That's what I prefer. I like out of 10. Technically, all of these work. Some are a little better, in my personal opinion, my little humble opinion, than others. First, we're going to talk about your traditional guru peak week. This is what I had with my first personal trainers. You're going to manipulate your water. You're going to manipulate your sodium. You're going to manipulate your carbs, sometimes even your potassium. This is all during peak week to deplete you. You're basically trying to make dramatic changes during that final week. Carb loading absolutely can work. It's going to help with your muscle glycogen. Absolutely, that works. Glycogen is stored with water inside the muscle. So it can increase muscle fullness if done appropriately. There are some scientific disadvantages to this one, probably more than any of the other. And this is your very traditional bodybuilding style. Your water restriction, probably the number one thing I hate the most. Restricting water is going to reduce your plasma volume. Restricting water is going to reduce your plasma volume. It's going to impair the body's ability to store glycogen effectively while increasing your risk of dehydration. You do not want to pass out backstage. In fact, there are rules that if you do that, you can't compete. You have to go see an EMT. And if you refuse, you can't compete for a year. So you don't want to pass out backstage. You're also looking at that sodium restriction. I really don't like this one. If you really take your sodium restriction, you really decrease it. Very low sodium. It's going to reduce muscle fullness and disrupt a normal fluid balance. Sodium is also important for your nerve function and your muscle contraction. You're also looking at excessive carbohydrate depletion. Now, you will have to carb deplete to a certain level with every single one of this. I'm talking excessive carb depletion. Your chicken and green beans or chicken and broccoli for every single meal for multiple days during the week before you start carb loading. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking excessive. There's no carbs. Prolonged depletion is going to reduce your training performance. It's going to make a flatter appearance. And it is often not going to improve the eventual carbohydrate load. If you go too extreme with your carb depletion, sometimes that carb load is not as effective. I know that sounds weird. You're going to see people really flat. You'll see this with traditional bodybuilding styles. You'll hear people say, I did it. I did exactly as the coach said throughout the week. I looked good on stage. The day after, when I had my refeed, I looked even better that day after. You carb depleted too much. Too much depletion. That's what happened. Too much. The other option that can happen when you do this extreme on the other side is you can spill over. So when you're going to consume more carbs than the athlete can effectively store as glycogen, it doesn't necessarily translate to more muscle fullness. The excessive intake can increase gastrointestinal contents and extracellular water, making the physique appear softer in some individuals. The opposite take. Now, maybe that is what you want for a bikini competitor that's coming too lean. Most people don't want to spill over. Traditional peak week manipulation. I know a lot of you people do this. I know it's a lot out there. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 4 out of 10. It's probably my least favorite. It's going to be my least favorite. I'm sorry. Your next option is going to be your food restriction prep. Your calories are going to be repeatedly slashed. Your carbs will become extremely low, like your traditional guru. Your dietary fat is also going to become extremely low. You might end up with fewer than 1,000 calories. So it often results in poor training quality, increased hunger, fatigue, and a greater loss of losing lean mass is one of the biggest issues with this one. It's kind of a similar take to your traditional guru. This massive food restriction prep is a real common one. This is when you see a competitor saying, my peak week, I only ate 800 calories. That's not a lot. I don't like that. It's going to create the calorie deficit primarily by repeatedly reducing your food intake throughout the prep. In my personal opinion, it takes that calorie limit too excessive and too low. Fat loss is going to happen. It will be adhered to if it's maintained. You hit your steps, you do those carbs, you're doing your weight training, like you will make it to stage. You're not going to feel great. You're really not. You're at a higher risk of losing your muscle with being that low on calories, because the lower your calories, the lower the likely the body will be able to maintain the muscle because of the protein synthesis. It's just going to, your resistance training is just going to suffer. You're just going to be tired. You're going to have low training performance, especially if you've got really low calories. You just naturally are going to have low carbohydrates. So you're going to reduce that glycogen. It's going to make training hard overall. This calorie restriction typically is not included with a guru week. I would say if you include it with a guru week, that is very scary. This is talking about just really decreasing the carbs or the calories to an extreme. You're also going to increase your hunger. Now, some people get onto GLP-1s now to eliminate that kind of side effect. However, I'm not a big fan of using substances that you don't need. If you need to get on a GLP-1 to do prep, you're probably prepping too extreme. There might be a few weeks where you're feeling really tired and really pushing through. You shouldn't need it throughout your entire prep. If you're feeling like, oh, I'm about to prep, so I'm going to do 12 weeks of a GLP-1, your coach is probably going pretty intense. You're also going to have just a lower energy availability. It's going to be harder for you to hit your steps. And if your NEAT decreases, then your overall TDEE is going to decrease. You will lose less weight. Your coach is probably going to strike your calories again. It's kind of like this never-ending cycle of this hamster wheel. I'm not like a super fan. It does produce fat loss. Like I said, every single one of these will get you to stage. There's not a single one on here that has not gotten someone a pro card. Every single pro out there, there's at least one that's done one of these styles of prep before. I would put this one just because of the training quality, the recovery, the lean mass preservation, and then really the rebound afterwards. Your metabolism will eventually get fixed. It's never permanently damaged. This style is typically the one where you will see competitors afterwards binge and binge and binge because their body's been through starvation mode. They're at the weight that they were when they started prep, or maybe even more. They're going too extreme. I'm going to go with a 4 out of 10. The other one has higher risks of danger backstage. This one has danger all the way throughout. Again, they're both going to get you to stage. They both are pretty rough. Next one on our list is going to be a carbohydrate dominant prep. Have relatively higher carbs while creating most of the deficit through increased cardio. You're not cutting a ton of calories. You're just increasing your cardio in order to hit that deficit. The athletes do train better with more carbs. That is absolutely proven. They are eating more. They're going to have a little bit more of that energy. Some competitors are going to report lower hunger compared to a severe food restriction like the last one. If I had to compare this one to the last one, I'd rather you have more food. At least I would want more food. I would not want to be eating 800 calories or 1,000 or even like 1,200. I don't think I've ever done a prep besides the first show I ever did that was a very traditional guru style with a coach that claimed she was healthy. It was not. I would rather do this than that any day long. I love my food. Your recovery demands are going to increase. A large amount of cardio also is going to create an additional fatigue that competes with resistance training recovery. Also can have a potential interference effect. So high volumes of endurance exercise can reduce strength and hypertrophy adaptations, particularly when combined with lower body resistance training. I'm talking you're running and you're doing leg day, that kind of stuff. You also have an increased risk of overuse injuries. The other thing that I personally find is even with the more calories, if you're doing this with cardio, for me, if I do an excessive amount of cardio, it's not going to be everyone. For me, my hunger spikes. Even if my calories are high, I'm not going to I'm not going to adhere. On a cardio dominant prep where you're really getting a lot of that calorie cutting through cardio, for me, I'm going to cheat. I'm not going to maintain the calories. I don't care how many calories you gave me, because for me, depleting those carbs to that level of that amount of cardio you want me to do, I'm going off track. For me, I'm going to give this like a 6 out of 10. Definitely better than the other two. I would rather do this in a traditional peak week or having 800 calories. Give me the cardio. Not my favorite. Now we're going to talk about the next one. We got three more. We're going in order from my least favorite to my favorite. So stay tuned. Okay, I've got my personal favorite. You guys can let me know in the comments which one is your personal favorite. Remember to subscribe, comment, all of the things to help me out. Your aggressive deficit prep. You are reducing calories rapidly to achieve fat loss quickly. It does have a rapid fat loss. It's useful if an athlete starts prep behind schedule. Some of the ones I rank later that I like more, you can't do if you start behind schedule. Ultimately, if you are very insistent as a competitor to get into a show that maybe you are not ready for, you might have to do something like this. That just is what it is to get to stage. For me personally, I would rather pick a later date. If you're like, I can only afford to travel in state, this one's in my city, I can't afford to do a plane ticket, I already paid for this swimsuit and the ticket and all of the things, and this is the one I'm doing, you might have to do an aggressive deficit prep at that point. You're just also going to be at a greater lean mass loss. So when energy deficiency becomes too large, the body is going to increase reliance on amino acids as an energy source. High protein and resistance training reduce the risk, but it does not eliminate it. If you're going to do this, I would highly, highly, highly recommend making sure you have amino acids in your daily diet. Drink it while you're working out, please. It's going to help a lot. Larger decreases in a resting metabolic rate. Metabolic rates are not permanent. Adaptive thermogenesis becomes more pronounced as the deficit grows. Just because it's not permanent doesn't mean it's not temporarily damaged. Something like an aggressive prep, maybe you're not cutting down to 800 calories. You're still doing an overall aggressive prep. Maybe it's a mix of the cardio and the calories. And it's not quite 800. It's not quite 2 hours of cardio. It's kind of in between both of those. It's going to take some time to recover from that. Also, you're going to have a lower training performance when you do this. Your lower glycogen stores reduce the ability to sustain high training intensity and volume. You're also going to have higher cortisol, higher stress. Higher cortisol is not good for your body. Prolonged energy resistance can increase physiological stress, which may impair your recovery. You really have to be careful on a prep like this. I would say this is probably more common now. I think a lot of people are staying away from your more traditional guru style bodybuilding unless they have not been keeping up with the science or just kind of trying to guess what they're doing. This is maybe their first or second or third coaching experience with a competitor. I would say the majority of coaches now are at least doing this one, if not the next two I like. It's good. You just really need to watch out for that stress and make sure you are very much taking care of the stress on the outside part of your life. If you're going to do this, you're behind schedule, you're really insistent this is your thing, then this needs to be the thing that's stressing you out. In my personal opinion, the rest of your life should be pretty easygoing. I would not recommend this plus whatever extra stress. Like if your job is insane, if you are some high power lawyer, you're some high power doctor doing a prep like this, with a family, that's a lot. That's a lot on there. So I would definitely maybe consider this for someone that is maybe like a single person, a single female that's young, that has the energy to come back and is really insistent that this is their show. Maybe this might be something that we do. Again, everything has nuance. Every single one of these can get you to stage. But I'd give this a 7 out of 10. It works. I like doing a little bit of the cardio and a little bit of the calorie reduction instead of massive amounts. I like this. I like this one a lot compared to those. Definitely not my favorite. Now we're on to number 2, which is the moderate deficit prep. Creating a moderate calorie deficit with periodic macro reductions. This one is my second favorite. I would say it's pretty dang common now, which makes me happy. I feel like the bodybuilding world has changed, has evolved, has learned, which is fantastic. I love that. We keep evolving. We keep learning. That makes us better and makes us grow. You're going to have actually a faster fat loss. A larger energy deficit increases the rate of fat loss. Your high protein intake combined with resistance training is going to help preserve your lean mass in moderate deficits. Having a moderate deficit prep is still going to work. You're going to lose significantly less muscle. You're going to be just more energetic throughout it. If you are slowly losing, if you're just losing 0.5 to 1% of your body fat per week, that's great. I love that for you. You are still going to have a greater fatigue. You are going to have more hunger. Your metabolic adaptations will exist. They will be smaller than the others. However, again, it is not permanent. You can fix your metabolism. Once you go back to whatever maintenance calories were at your pre-weight, you might have to eat a little bit less for a little while, but your metabolism will rebound. It's not a permanent thing. It can always be fixed. Your higher chance of needing refeed or diet breaks is going to be there compared to my favorite. If you have this, the good news is a moderate one. It's maintainable. It's reasonable. These are the kind of things that are going to be like a 14, 16 week out. You're not doing an 8 weeks out. You're doing 12 to 16 weeks, depending on how close you are to stage lean. You're pretty good on your stage lean, your pre-stage weight and height, or not weight and height. Your height doesn't matter with any of these. Your pre-stage weight is pretty close. Your body fat percentage is pretty close to the stage. You can do a moderate. And I really like this one. I would say this one is probably 9 out of 10. Most people are not going to be able to do my favorite, which is one I do. Most people are going to be able to do this one. I'm going to say this one's the best. If you can, don't start a prep if you can. Don't pick a show if you can. Start prep if you can until you're pretty close to stage lean-ish. I'm talking like 18% or so body fat for a girl, maybe 12, 13 for a guy before you start prep, and give yourself 12 weeks, 14 weeks even. You're going to feel great. That's going to be an easy prep for you. You're not going to have to do much on your peak week. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. I really love that for most people. My number one is, I'm going to give it, nothing's perfect. So I can't give it 10 out of 10. Nothing's perfect except Jesus, Chuck Norris. I guess a 9.5 out of 10. I'm going to give it as close to perfect as possible. If you are able to, a conservative prep is my absolute favorite. So you're going to lose your fat with the smallest calorie deficit possible while maintaining training performance and muscle mass. This does mean, again, you need to be at that 18% or so before you hit on stage. But instead of losing 0.5 to 1% of your body fat, I'm talking 0.25 to 0.4% of your body fat per week. We are losing very slowly, but that means calorie restrictions are very minimal, and you are going to maintain so much of your muscle. Your muscle protein synthesis remains higher when your energy availability is less restricted. Your resistance training performance is better maintained, and you're going to have higher glycogen supports for your training quality. I just love muscle preservation, that word, with this one. And then you're also going to have less metabolic adaptation. If you're going just slow and you're barely cutting the amount of calories you need, you're giving yourself time. So it's okay if you don't lose super fast. You're not crashing that metabolism. With every other one, I was like, yeah, it's going to crash. It'll come back. This one's not really going to crash, which is fantastic. Like, for my preps, for example, I'm 5'4", about 125. I'll be about 118 to 120 when I hit on stage at about 14% body fat. I'm at about 18.5% right now. So I'm going to be losing very slowly, very, very slowly. It's going to be fantastic. I'm not competing until December, so there's no rush. The good news is, I pulled a semi, and afterwards I was exhausted and I ate under the sun, but I have time to recover for that. I got to do something fun. I'm not worried about my prep. Like, I had one day. It's okay. Like, I'm not feeling bad. If I was only 6 weeks out from my prep and doing some crazy calorie restriction, like, that's going to really mess with my body. But right now it doesn't matter. Like, I needed the fuel. I pulled a semi twice. So once in heels. It was really cool. Worth the calories. But the cool thing is like it doesn't matter that I had that kind of, time. Glycogen support is going to, support the quality. Think about it. I'm in prep and I pulled a semi. When I tell you it maintains your muscle, it maintains your muscle if you go conservative, which I love. Now, not everyone has the patience to do this. For some people saying, hey, we're going to do a 20-week prep, even though you're 18%, you're like, you've got to be kidding me. No, it's what I would prefer because of that, because it has less muscle adaptation, because you're barely cutting those calories, you're barely adding the cardio. I'm talking like 10, 15 minutes a day, just to kind of get your body going, just for your heart, barely cutting those calories. We're barely losing weight each week. We're really just mostly just inching that little scale down. Like your NEAT is not really going to drop a lot. Your spontaneous activity isn't going to really drop a lot. So your TDEE isn't going to drop a lot. And your thyroid hormone outputs are going to be good. So that smaller adaptation generally is going to produce less metabolic adaptation post-prep, which I love. And it's also going to preserve your hormones better. So if you are a natural athlete, highly recommend this one. I'm on HRT, which means all of my hormones are within natural levels. If you are on HRT, metabolically speaking and physically speaking, you are still natural. Okay, you should always train natural and treat your preps as if you were natural. And if you are a natural, you need to think about your recovery. The thing that enhancement does is it gives you better recovery. If you are natural, you don't have that benefit, including if you're on HRT. You might have better recovery than you did before you got on HRT. Lord knows you were probably barely out of bed. I know I was. But you still need your recovery. And so that means more carbs. It's going to give you your better glycogen replenishment. It's going to give you improved workout quality, lower fatigue. So you're going to have more energy and your training tolerance is going to increase as well. Unfortunately, for some people, it requires patience and the fat loss is slow. And so I guess that's that 0.5 out of 10 that I would give it. Some people just don't have the patience for it. Some people want it and they want it now. And I get that, especially in today's world. I get that. But if you have the patience for it, you're willing to put your health in there first. You're willing to combine, I know this sounds weird, but combine health with bodybuilding, which I am a huge fan of. Slow and steady wins a race, baby. Slow and steady. So I have all of my different styles of bodybuilding prep, bodybuilding peak weeks that are included. You know, that guru traditional peak week where you're going to decrease your sodium and playing with your potassium and your water and all of them. If your coach is still doing that one, I would shop around. I would recommend shopping around and seeing who else you can talk about. That one is probably my least favorite of all. Will all of these, again, get you to stage? Yep, absolutely. There are pros with all of them. There's going to be someone in the comments saying, well, you gave mine a 4 out of 10 and I have my pro card. I'm so happy for you. I will tell you that all of these will work. They will work better for some people more than others. But as far as overall health goes, overall maintenance of your muscle, overall metabolic adaptation later, overall ability to adhere to the program for the majority of people, that's how I would rank them. Anyway, look for a coach that does one of the ones you liked. Let me know which one you liked in the comments as well. I'm Barbells at Bedtime. Hope I taught you something. If you're a pro and a coach and it pissed you off, I'm sorry. Okay. Love you. Like and subscribe. Bye-bye.